Hello everybody. In this video I'm going to show you how to fill out the accessibility review and alternate access plan request form. This is required when you want to use some software or technology or a website or any content for your students that hasn't yet been approved by the district for accessibility. It's not too difficult to process. This was my first attempt. So I want to show you how that worked. You're going to need, on the left you see I have the instructions here, and I will put links to these instructions in the description of this video. And you will also need the form itself, which is over here on the right, which is a Word document that you're going to fill out. So the first part of the form you can see on the right is just the requester information. That's pretty straightforward. That's your name, title, department, contact info, which college you work for, and the date. And then we'll move down to product or usage information. And before I get into this, I will show you briefly what it is I'm trying to get approved. And this is a web-based software that's free to use, and it's called UDescribe. And the purpose of this software is that you can use it to add audio descriptions to a YouTube video. And this is necessary if you have blind students who have an accommodation for videos that they can hear the dialogue or the speech, but they can't see what's happening in the video. And in a lot of educational videos, you need to add those descriptions, especially in a certain case. We had a child development class, and they have videos of children playing for child observation, and there's no sound other than maybe children playing in a park. So you would need descriptions to tell the student what's happening in the video, whether the children are fighting over a toy, playing on the slide, or anything that's happening in the video, any action. So this software lets the teacher actually add that description in themselves, and then they can take that video and put it into their course however they want. So it's great software, and it solves a need that we have at the college. So back to the form. For purpose and use, I'm going to read on the left the instructions, and it just says to provide information about the instructional needs that must be met, not product-specific information. Okay, so you don't want to include marketing information here, and you want to describe student learning outcomes that this should support, how it will be facilitated in the learning environment. And I'm doing this for educational stuff, so I'm not going to read the part about non-instructional product or services, but you can read that if that applies to you. You want to ensure the response addresses the criticality of the general purpose of this type of product or service. So basically why it's needed, and needed now, and any potential impact foreseen as a result of non-availability for use. So you'll see for a product like UDescribe, which provides accessibility for students that require accommodation, one of those impacts for non-use could be a lawsuit if we don't comply with the accessibility laws and policies, or even a loss of federal funds. So those are things you're going to put in that section here, purpose and use. And you'll see they've provided an example, tells you what to write, and gives you an example here for a library instruction program, would support these learning objectives, so students can explore topics and do research, etc. So there you go. It gives you a little sample there. So for this particular product, I wrote, for purpose and use, we require a product to create audio description tracks for YouTube videos. This will make videos accessible for certain DSPS students. We need this product as it helps teachers and support staff remediate videos for free. Students right now do not have access to accessible videos as our college struggles with the budget and approval process, similar products that require minimum dollar amount contracts. So I could have written that a bit better. And I might want to add a bit about non-use. So I could say Non-use of this product could result in students missing valuable learning content and even result in lawsuits. And then I'll also put a little statement: use of this product will allow equal access to valuable learning content that supports student learning outcomes. Because this product covers a broad amount of classes, can be used in any class that uses a video, I'm not going to get too specific on student learning outcomes. Just wanted to say that, we want to provide equal access to that content. We'll move on to the next section, which is annual number and types of users. So you might need to kind of estimate this. It says to provide information about the instructional needs that must be met. Enter the estimated maximum total number of users that will be using this product and service. Describe who those users will be. Be specific as possible. And then they give you an example here. So in the example, it says that the product's going to be available for all students, faculty, and staff. And then they give an example of during one academic year, this product could be used as many as by 25,694 users. And it talks about the college library resources and some courses that would benefit from this product, etc. So it gives some examples there. So for this one, it's a little harder for me to estimate just because I'm not sure about the number of blind students or visually impaired students that would need this. I could contact the DSPS office if I wanted a little more detail, but I'm just going to use a guesstimate. And also, audio described videos don't just benefit visually impaired students. They also benefit students that are new language learners. So they can watch a video and listen to that description, which might help them learn the language or understand the content easier. So for this product, under that category, I wrote, UDescribe is free to use web-based software. Anyone with a Google account can use this free service. We expect many of our faculty and tech staff to use this product to remediate educational videos. Our department gets 10 to 20 requests for audio descriptions per semester, and I believe that's a low estimate. There are many blind students who would benefit, and I'm going to change this to visually impaired students, who would benefit from having videos with audio descriptions. We also have thousands of students who are new language learners who could also benefit from audio described videos. So we'll move on to the next category, which is frequency and context of use. And if we look at the instructions, provide information about the instructional needs that must be met. Describe the frequency and context with which this type of product or service will be used by the individuals identified in that previous section. Attach any relevant documentation in support of this description. Okay, and then they give you an example based on this library resource. And in their example, they're saying that it's used throughout the year, and they're getting a little more specific. Just prior to research assignment due dates, that's when it's going to be used the most, etc. So for my frequency and context of use, I wrote, this product will be used when needed throughout the academic year. This product is crucial if a teacher has a student that requires an audio description accommodation. The instructor would need to get their videos audio described as soon as possible before the week the student needs to watch the video to meet that need. All right, let's move on to length of use. Provide information about the instructional needs that must be met. Describe how long this type of product or service is expected to be in use. for example, if it's only going to be used for 2 semesters, and then they give you an example. So in their example, they say this type of product is intended to be in use as long as our department receives sufficient funding for it. Okay, and as long as usage justifies our continued subscription to it. So luckily, the product that I'm recommending is free, and so there's no limits on subscriptions or budgets. So I'm not going to worry about that. I wrote in my response for length of use, because of accessibility requirements, we need this product on an ongoing basis. The district has been involved in many lawsuits over accessibility, so this product may prevent future lawsuits or loss of federal funding due to lack of compliance. And I'm going to add here, this service is provided for free by a nonprofit. So there is no restriction on length of use. Okay. Then we move down to comparison of products. So they want a comparison of similar products and their features that you've used in the past, okay, and that meet the instructional or business needs as described in the purpose of use. If none are known, state so and explain why there are no comparable products or services on the market to the best of your knowledge. And then they have the example. So in their example, the Chronicle of Higher Education is a newspaper and website that presents news, information, and jobs for university, college, student affairs, professionals, etc. While there are similar products that enable students to access online research and reading materials, such as the New York Times, the content offered by the Chronicle of Higher Education is specific to higher education. So they're giving their reasoning why they like that product over the competitors. So this is what I wrote. There are paid options from competitors, but we want to be empowered to make our videos accessible ourselves. UDescribe is easy to use and free. It also works using the existing YouTube player, which makes it easy for teachers to embed audio-described videos into their Canvas classes. Their main competitor uses a very clunky player that is difficult to embed in Canvas. This player hasn't worked in certain browsers in the past. The request process for audio description through the competitor can be time-consuming and the costs must be approved by various departments, which can delay the video being delivered to the student in a timely manner. Also, the quality of the voiceover varies when using the competitor. The AI voice isn't very engaging. The videos I've submitted in the past don't have a pause video function, so that puts limitations on the description if it occurs over other sounds or speech happening in the video. So this is firsthand experience. I've used the competitor before, and while I like their product, I'm not trying to disparage their product. I have run into some difficulties when using it, and the main difficulty that I'm facing right now is budget. So then we'll move on to reasons selected. Indicate the preferred product or service. Provide an explanation as to why this product or service is your preference. And their example says, the Chronicle of Higher Education would support student learning outcomes in course assignments across many disciplines. It would provide students with access to online research and reading materials specific to higher education. So that's their reason in their example. And I wrote, UDescribe is free and easy to use. It is a very good alternative to 3Play Media. It was built by the nonprofit Smith Kettlewell iResearch Institute with grant funding from the Department of Education. I think it is important to have both UDescribe and 3Play Media, not one or the other, but UDescribe can be used anytime without a contract or lengthy service wait time. So that's the real reason, and I apologize to 3Play Media. I was going to take you out of this video, but that's the reality. And this product was built with funding from the Department of Education. So to me, that means it's a quality product. I've used it, and I really do like using it. There are a few downsides with using it. You actually have to do it yourself. That's the number one downside. So many instructors might not have the time necessary to describe a video, which is when a vendor is useful to have, because they do that work for you. But for us that are in a pickle and we can't wait, or we need to get that video to avoid lawsuits and to just help out the student, number one. Okay, so that's my reason. So we'll go down to the vendor information, and this is pretty straightforward. You're just going to put in the vendor name and their contact information, the product name and version. This is just a website, udescribe.org, and then the product description. And for this, I actually did copy and paste from their website. I wrote, udescribe is a free web-based platform for adding audio description to YouTube content. With udescribe, video description is no longer a luxury. Anyone can add audio description to videos uploaded on YouTube. Choose a video, pause it to insert brief descriptions, and tell us what you see. When viewed with udescribe, your voice is inserted into those spots in the video. Viewers can choose to listen to the descriptions in line while the video continues to play, or in extended mode. The video stops while the action is described. And that kind of covers one of the limitations I found with the competitor. Although I haven't checked their product lately, maybe they do have that extended mode currently. And that takes us to this section, which is procurement required, yes or no. And I wrote no, but I need to change that to yes. Every piece of software that is going to be requested has to go through the procurement process, even if it's a free service or a trial, anything, it all has to go through this process. So you want to put yes down there. For Canvas integration required, I put no, because this service, it basically just uses the YouTube player, and it's really easy to embed those videos inside of Canvas. There's no integration required. That makes my life a lot easier. So then we move on to the bottom of the form. Once this section is completed, submit the draft Word version of this form and the accessibility conformance documentation from the vendor to the district's ADA compliance officer. So what they mean by accessibility conformance documentation, that usually means a document called a VPAT, which is a really detailed accessibility document, and most vendors will have this. You just have to request it. I can show you an example. So there's another instructor that was curious about this software called Nectar, which is just some communication software that works inside of Canvas. And when you scroll to the bottom of their website, you can see they have a little link here for accessibility. Some companies even have a VPAT linked as well, but those can change over time. So in this case, when we click on accessibility, they have their statement here, and they also tell you that a VPAT is available upon request. So they're very easy to get most of the time from these vendors. You just have to email them and ask for the VPAT, and you will include that with the form. So for this particular product, udescribe, they didn't have a VPAT, but their software is based on YouTube. So it's actually just like YouTube, which is already approved. They use the YouTube player. So hopefully I won't need anything else after the district looks at this product, and hopefully we'll be okay. So we'll find out once I send this off. But that's a long video. Thank you for hanging in there, and good luck to you in procuring your software. Thanks for watching.